Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's going to be
How
hot
is
where I'm at.
everybody?
I got 3 days of a 100 plus degrees coming up for me. Hello.
No, thank you.
Whew.
Oh, there, I finally got it in. Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Bill. How's it going? There's Margaret.
Good
Okay.
morning.
It's
What's up?
Friday.
Morning.
So weird. So weird having yesterday kind of an off day.
It
Yep.
it felt like Saturday.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but you were
this should
working
be
more.
Sunday then.
It should be Sunday. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. See you
Yeah.
guys tomorrow.
Okay, see ya.
But not.
No, no. Well,
Oh,
let's
funny.
roll. We'll get going here. Um, Uh, you know, Wednesday we had the FOMC came out and they didn't raise rates, of course. And I
Don't be
watched it. I was kind
disappointed.
of
Don't be
well,
disappointed. You sound disappointed.
well, or they didn't lower rates, I should say. And it was weird because we do have all the other central banks lowering rates because of what's happening, and Powell kept bringing up uncertainty. There's too much. There's uncertainty, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know how many times you use that word, but when is the market ever certain, or when is the economy ever certain on anything? And these guys are supposed to be. I've been hearing for the last 4 years, data driven. We're data driven. It seems like data driven went away to me for a little bit, but it's above my pay grade. And like I tried to tell everyone, I can't really worry about it because I can't do anything about it, but I do think a lot about it, and it just seems strange. It seems seems a little that he didn't really explain it too well to me. At least that's the way I took it. But anyway, so the market's closed flat basically. Today, it's Friday. We had a day off yesterday. Um, if you're in a position, it's weekends. It's up to you. Might want to avoid weekend risk, take some off the table, and see because we don't know what's going to happen. As far as geopolitical, we still have uh, the Iran Israeli conflict. We have oil prices going up. We have threats against the Straits of Hormuz. We have just a lot of stuff going on. Still have the tariffs. Those kind of fell off the table, and no one really talks about them yet. But we still have those. Philadelphia Manufacturing Index comes out today around noon. Um, Kroger, Darden Restaurants, CarMax, Accenture, they have earnings today. I still can't believe they're that late in the earnings season. We're almost done with the second quarter, and then they're doing first quarter earnings. CarMax must have done well because it looks like they're up about $7 in pre-market. And then triple witching option expiration today. Trent, is this a big one for triple witching?
4.3 trillion in notional value.
Yeah,
That's
and
just
what
on
effect?
SPX and
Wow.
SPY.
So what effect are you expecting on that? Anything?
Say that again.
What do you expect that to affect the market today at all, if any?
I think what it does, it market makers basically recalibrate their books as this rolls off. So we probably won't see as much volatility. Well, actually, we'll see volatility looks like it's dropping this morning. Um, so we won't see as much until probably next week. But Wednesday, a lot of options stopped trading because of the Thursday holiday. And so I anticipate just a low volatility day overall. I think 5,900 on the S&P 500 SPX is sort of the support level, and then 6,000 is become that resistance level um, again as well. So break that down into SPY. You're sort of at 595 to I would say 6,100 still is that top end range still. So we're still in that trading range again, as we
Yeah.
have been in for quite a while. So what I think significant could be significant is July 2nd when 3-month VIX averages roll off and you get rid of the Liberation Day event off the averages, and it brings it back down to a sort of a reasonable historical level. And that's where it could be very positive for markets and volatility. That low volatility investable bucket I talk about you could see that resistance level, the SPY and all the Mag 7, even the portfolio I created out of Kerry's um, stocks are all up against resistance. So this could be one of those catalysts that frees up or takes the leash off of these stocks to rise higher. There's also what July 9th, I think, is when the Chinese tariff negotiations or the reprieve on tariffs rolls off as well. So that could be another volatility event. I honestly, this summer, I think is just a lot of volatility, a lot of headlines. It's headlines. And I think
That's
probably
really,
the rest of the year is that way.
yeah, I mean, it's daily and weekly and minutely, it seems like. So, I mean, but the markets,
Yeah.
like you see here in the SPY, just sideways along resistance with Bollinger Bands, diverging or converging. But the SPY is still over the 200. Just dropped under the 9 a little bit after hitting resistance, and we'll see how that goes. And like I said, the Dow is under the 200 for a second day in a row, right where resistance is, converging Bollinger Bands. Uh, the oscillators are in the red, basically. RSI is right at about 50, but again, sideways. Qs right along resistance. Bollinger Bands, parallel, a little bit under on the MACD. Again, just it is above the 200 though, but sideways. And again, just kind of like the summer doldrums, is what they always used to talk about, sell in May and go away. And it's kind of what we're seeing a little bit. Gold's going to open up lower today. Last time I looked down here after hitting resistance. Silver. Silver's just right along resistance, and we got some sell orders. Had a nice bump up and then sideways a little bit, still above the 9, sitting right at resistance. Bitcoin's been pretty resilient, sticking right along this $105 level. Again, comes down. I'm looking at the 50, hits 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 the 50, and here we are again, bounces off the 50-day moving average. And today we're up again above the 105 level, just in that sideways pattern. You can see we had it here, we had it here. And so again, sideways, we got Bollinger's parallel, a little bit under on the MACD, but it's not really taking a hit. It just looks like the SPY and and the other indexes. Of course, MicroStrategy is going to open up above resistance. It looks like here, and above the 9. We'll see what happens, but this really got close on the Bollinger Band. Just you can see why. I mean, just sideways and no volatility. Just up down, just within the range. The Nvidia, it just looks like the Qs in the S&P just slowly moving up along the 9, and the 9's coming up along resistance, and we're just bouncing between those two, and we'll see which way it's going to pop out. Got a little bit of a rollover on the MACD down here, but nothing really too exciting. We're going to open up, looks like a little below resistance level today. Meta looks just like Nvidia almost. They're right between the resistance and the 9. Again, these Bollingers are a little bit more spread than you see on Nvidia, on Meta. Tesla's come down from its resistance and from where we have sell orders, and just kind of moving along the 9, kind of sideways within the Bollingers. The oscillators aren't quite where we want them yet. In the red, we are at 50. They've got 50 for the RSI, so kind of just a medium uh, level of momentum. Uh, we are above the 200, which is a good thing. We did drop down a little bit before. Tesla, again, these are the main movers of the two big indices, the S&P and the Nasdaq. And Google just kind of playing around resistance right now, dropped below the 9, right above the 200. So we'll see. It's going to open up right about where it closed. We'll see if it can maintain the 200 it had before it sunk. Kind of tested it here, and then we'll see. But I'm seeing the oscillators kind of roll on Google. We're just not seeing that explosive upside to a lot of these stocks. Amazon, again, come up, riding up to 9, just kind of sideways in this sideways pattern. Going to open up below the 9 again. Again, the oscillators are kind of rolling. You can see, just not the excitement to keep these moving at this time. Microsoft, again, right up against resistance and right where we're going to open. Again, we're going to squeeze this 9 up against resistance and see what happens. Again, we're seeing a little bit of a roll on the MACDs, just not, just that slow, steady climb on Microsoft, but we'll see. It's just hitting resistance the last 5 days. Palantir, again, kind of looks like Microsoft a little bit, just kind of moving up 3 days against resistance. We're not seeing big candles, we're seeing kind of the smaller candles, sticks, flat oscillators, flat movement, a little bit up to flat. We are above the 200 on Palantir. I really thought Palantir would pop more with this conflict going on. I keep saying that every day, and I'm expecting to see something happen, but it just hasn't. Just going into the under the 200 list. This one's been on for a while. When Whirlpool has finally come back in side of the Bollinger Band, and we've been in this for quite a while, and it's kind of run up. If you're in it, it's a weekend. You may want to put a stop sell down here right above support or a little below between these two levels of support, which is the 20 or the 9, just in case, depending. Otherwise, you're still in the money. You don't want to lose anything and have, some catastrophe happen and drops down. So again, still running pretty good. And you think about Whirlpool of all companies, moving up. Lumina just kind of moving slowly between the 9 and the upper and the moving up Bollinger Band. We do have some sell orders, 93.14, but oscillators are looking pretty good. Just a nice slow mover. Sometimes these can just go, and keep going. You don't have much resistance above you except the Bollinger, and you got some sell orders. And then, the next level is pretty much up to the 200. We can go and see where the next level of sell orders are. 96.52 and 99.89. So that's, you've got 3 big levels right above you, but it's not a fast mover for sure. Of course, the oils, like Murphy oil, we talked about. Murphy's come up and hit right where, like 3 times right where the sell orders are. And with oil, you never know. The news can come out, the war is over, oil goes down, or over the weekend they could shut down the Straits of Hormuz. You see all these oil prices pop up. So, I mean, that's just the way energy and oil work. It's very news driven. So you got to kind of be a kind of a gambler in the oil industry, or in the oil investment, because it can pop around really quick. And on our watch list, another oil stock, PAA, has finally come up. It's cleared through finally the 200. This is a pipeline, but we want to watch for a back test, but had a little bit of a rollover on the stochastic. So I want to make sure I can back test that 200 and see if it'll roll back up before I'm interested. But I like the Bollingers moving across, diverging. I like it falling with inside the upper Bollinger, and I like it using the 9 as support. So the big thing was getting past this 200 and see if we can get past that in a sustainable manner. Micron, we've been talking about. Micron's just been a nice roller, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inside, and then we've stayed inside. So oscillators still look pretty good. You have support here at the 9, followed by the 20, You got some sell orders right above at 124.43, and then resistance at 130.97. So we could be getting next to the end of maybe want to take some money off, but there's still room to roll on Micron. And Dollar Tree, you know, where do people go when they need to shop? Dollar Tree's come up and hit resistance 3 days in a row. You might want to take a little off if you're in Dollar Tree, just because this may be you can see the nine's kind of moving flat again, so we might be seeing some downward movement on Dollar Tree. We've seen that, in the retail, Walmart has kind of popped up. Walmart came down against support. We've been looking at some charts where it comes down, rides support, and comes back up. You've got the 9 if you get above the 9, but then you have resistance right above that. And then Costco has just kind of been on a downward, kind of a long-term downward. It's kind of reminded me of Berkshire a little bit, but it's coming down to the 200. So watch Costco. And speaking of Berkshire, Berkshire is very close to the 200. It'll be interesting to see. I think we're going to touch it. We might actually go below it a little bit. I want to see if we get a candle close, and then if it gets below it, I want to see it back test that up and see if it's going to continue to go down. But the Bollinger is still moving down. We're seeing a little bit of a tick on the MACD because of yesterday. We've had good resistance on the 9, but we'll see what happens. But I'm watching this one pretty close to see if we can get this to bounce, we get some more momentum to come up, get the MACD to cross, get above this 9. It might be a nice time for a swing trade, but it's not. I'm not there yet, but I'm hopeful on Berkshire and United Health. We've been watching. I don't know. We keep getting closer and closer on these Bollinger Bands. And I've never seen them where they cross each other ever. But crap, on United Health, you never know. It's right on the 9 again. So again, I've been waiting, and I said that back here these can go a long ways. Along this support level. If there's nothing there to move it, and there hasn't been. And now we're starting to see the stochastic has crossed over in a negative manner. That usually means we're going to see the MACD do that too. So, not in it yet, just watching it. It's going to have to show me some momentum or some catalyst to get it rolling again. Esther talked to me a little bit yesterday on the Discord about RCAT. They had an offering where they offered to institutional investors yesterday, and they just closed it for. They sold a bunch of shares for cash to do operations, and you can see even with that offering, we popped down. I don't know what it's doing today, but the oscillators are going down on RCAT. It's a $7.30 stock right now, but it's above the 200. It's above the 50, but it did pop down below. Once it hit sell orders and pop down. So doesn't look good for me on a swing right now for RCAT, but they did close on that. And well, I think Paul said these guys make the best fries, and I do like McDonald's fries, but I don't like their stock price. But you're seeing it sliding down. I want to see if it comes down and hits the support level and does like United Health and kind of moves sideways. If that's the way it goes, then this will be on a list, for a potential swing in the future, like we see with United Health, and then you see what happens here on Wolf. It came down, and now we've hit support. The 9's screaming down here. Want to see if this can turn around. We stay above the support level and then move back up. There's just a bunch of stocks that are setting up this way, and we just have to wait and see if they actually give us a little momentum to the upside, just like Smuckers. They had earnings, came down right to support, and we've been playing this support. The 9's trying to catch up down here. We'll see if it comes, but this support level is just as important as this resistance level. So you can see it was riding resistance till earnings and then dropped right to support. And so I'm going to wait and see on a lot of these stocks. If they start turning, you can see we're getting a little bit of a turnaround with the histograms on the MACD, but we're not there yet. Just like we're waiting for Berkshire Hathaway. So one more. Yum broke through the 200. So it closed 2 days ago below it on Wednesday, or on Tuesday. On Wednesday, it came back up, couldn't get past it again. So, that's not a good sign, especially look at the oscillators. this is what I'm looking at to see what happens with Berkshire. And hopefully we don't get that. I'm expecting something more like this, maybe closing up on Berkshire today, that we might go down below and then pop back up, but we'll see. But we see a lot of this right now. And I'll show some more over the weekend when I run the when I run my charts. But anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at today. Trent, Trent's in the middle of Texas somewhere, so he may be a little slow on his transmission.
Yeah, so did a lot of travel in the last 2 days. But I wanted to hit upon introduced at the beginning of the week, Trent's tell sheet 12. And this is taking Kerry's fundamental analysis of he's got, I think, roughly 60 stocks he's tracking, and taking his fundamental analysis and applying my uh, the 12 model to them. And so I went through and I ranked the 12 best positions that I felt like fundamentally, but also technically showed some real good promise, created a portfolio as we see here. And we've got some, very notable names. I ran AEHR, Affirm, ADM, IBM, Microsoft, Micron. And then we have some that maybe nobody's paid attention to, Power Solutions, um, uh, Credo Technology Group Holdings. And so I created this 12. I just wanted to just quickly explain it. This is more of an intermediate to long-term approach. I'm using Kerry's fundamentals, and every month I'll go through and I'll review his fundamentals on these stocks. I've included his watch list stocks as well. And so I put them in my model. It ranks the stocks based on a 0 to 4 score. And based on that score, if it has a high scoring, it gives it a like a 6% allocation. If it has like a 3, it gives it 8% allocation. And this is based on the difference. You would typically think, oh, well, if it has a higher score, it's going to get a higher allocation, and the higher allocation, max allocation to each position is 8%. But what I've figured in is that you're getting sort of at the top end of that range of that stock. So I don't want to expose too much there because it could really work against us. And then you get down to some positions, which unfortunately we don't have any that are twos and ones. Twos and ones get a minimum allocation of 1%. So you always have money in these companies, even if they don't score well, because we don't know when things are going to change. United Healthcare would be a prime example of a company that you'd look at the charts and go, I don't want to own this, but it could quickly change on you. And instead of trying to catch that move up, you would have some allocation to it. So right now the overall portfolio is allocated, percentage wise between 6 and 8% per position. We can see since Monday, the 16th, Power Solutions International has moved up 10.91%. Yay. Iran, on the other hand, actually recovered Wednesday, is only down 5.77%. This is very volatile because it's connected to Bitcoin. But you can see just how they've been performing. I'm going to keep this I did, this entry price here, so you can see how this performs. But overall, the portfolio on average this week is prior, pre-market open is up about 1.38% overall. So this is more of using Kerry's fundamentals, and he and I discussed this and combining the technicals that are taught in Platinum, but stretching them out on adding my quantitative model to it and stretching it out more on an intermediate to long-term basis. So it's something to take a look at if you're looking to figure out how do I use Kerry's fundamental stocks. Give me some sort of portfolio I can work from, and this is sort of our workup on that. I did include the VIX here and the S&P 500 to give you an idea what that looks like. One thing that may confuse people is this today versus yesterday's low end and high end. And what this is it's comparing based on volatility of these individual positions, where their ranges are day to day, and it can be a leading indicator to where these stocks are headed. And so, was it today's Friday? So we skipped Thursday. So Tuesday, a lot of these had lower lows and lower highs in their positioning going in on a 24-hour basis. And that can give you insight to saying, okay, are these stocks starting to top out? And as Mark pointed out in the charts, you could take the names off half of these stock, the majority of stocks that he showed today, and you would say, oh, that's the same stock because they're all up against resistance levels. But what this today versus yesterday highs and lows indicator gives you an idea where the stock is headed on a 24-hour basis. And that calculates into my trade trend and intermediate trend as well. If you're looking at this to simplify it, what I would consider is how are we scoring? How are we allocating? And that's how I'd run your overall intermediate to long-term portfolio. But I'll keep you all up to date. I send it out in the morning newsletters for premium and platinum every day, Monday through Friday. So this is, I don't know, I'm excited about it. I'm curious to see where this goes. And it gives us a more of a basically a technical quantitative approach to using carry stocks overall. So I talked about volatility and what's happening in the option market already today. So we'll open it up to the floor for Q&A and input from
Got a,
the international desk
got a few
there in
charts to
London.
look at. Few
Yeah, we got a
charts to
bunch of
look at
charts as
here.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. We'll get through some of these you guys requested. It is Friday. Full request Friday. End phase. End phase. Looking at this chart, I went out to the 6 month just to take a look. It's interesting. Every time it gets above the 9, it hits the 50 and dies. Gets above the 9, hits the 50 and dies. Gets above the 9, 50, 50. Squeeze, dump. Okay, on the 50. Come back up, 50, done. Came back up, 50, done. Okay, so interesting. And the trend you can see, at least for the 6 months, is from the upper left to the lower right. So now it's interesting. I don't know what happened. It doesn't look like earnings or anything. Earnings was back here, and it was 22 cents a share. I don't know what happened fundamentally with Enphase, but it had quite a drop and a gap. Hit the Bollinger twice, actually came down, tapped on support. So now I want to see if it's going to go like we've just looked at several charts, if it's going to run along support, let this 9 run back down, and then see if it comes back up. But you might not have much on the upside. You have sell orders right here below the 50, and everyone's seeing what I'm seeing is this 50's been the scourge of death for this stock, and if this keeps rolling down, it's going to get closer and closer to the price action. And then so I don't know how much upside you're going to have, but right now, it's not something that I would enter. But if I did, you certainly have to watch the 50. The other one we're looking at, ARRY. This one had a nice run up, and we've been nice to ride this right here. And I don't know what happened here, but it gapped up quite a ways. Came up, blew right past resistance, played along where the sell orders were, back down, came back up, hit where the sell orders were again. Now it's back right at resistance. I mean, you can look at the chart and look at your trading plan and say, okay, from a swing trade perspective, maybe not, maybe as an investment, it's different, but from a swing trade perspective, what is your risk and what's your reward? Then you go down, you look at the oscillators. The oscillators are kind of turning down on this one right now. So again, you're up against resistance. So it had a nice run. This wouldn't be something that would be on my list right now for a swing trade. And as far as an investment goes, I'm just going to go look at a weekly chart real quick. It's above the 200 on the daily. So it did pop up a little bit above the 50-week moving average. As you can see, it was running along it. But then this week, we actually came down and touched it, came back up. So, investment-wise, you've got you've got your resistance and your 200. It's under the 200 week, and it's under resistance. Um, but again, I don't know enough about it fundamentally for an investment play on this one. But from a swing trading perspective, it's not something that I would be too interested in. Paul brought up CRDO. That had a really nice run until it hit this green line right here.
That's a
And
carry.
you'll
That's
see,
a carry stock. It was
yeah.
on Trent's list.
Oh,
That's all.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe long term. I mean, this was a nice run. I should have watched that one because that would have been a nice run for us on a swing trade.
Mark,
Let's look at the
what's
let's look at the
hey,
weekly.
Mark, what's interesting to me is all these stocks have hit this resistance level, right? This is the
Yeah.
common thing, your green line of death.
Yep.
And I'm thinking as we were talking about, you were talking through this, I was thinking, how does that happen? What is mechanically happening? And I think this is where the options market really comes into play in these how these guys hedge out positions or they create these different option strategies like credit spreads and call and put credit spreads and stuff. And what's forming that resistance level? And I think a lot of this can be attributed to that options market. And that's where I'm curious today to see on Monday where these green lines of death and resistance levels, where they set
Yep.
going forward.
Yep.
Do they disappear or do they still be there? I don't know.
Or do they move? Or do they move up?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get excited about the stocks that don't show that resistance level and are, trading just above into new highs, into new
yeah,
territories. And, I scrub it and find those, and I've been pretty very successful with,
good.
I'll say, they're pumping up and down, and then all of a sudden they go into new territory, new highs. There may be resistance, there may not be resistance, but usually you could see not just the indicators and the volume and so forth. You're in a place where the stock's never been. Like, I'll give you an example, TSSI. I've been in that for uh, a week, maybe, I think. But just to show, if Credo breaks this level, that's a really good sign because you're into new money, I'll say. So that's
Yeah.
just to answer your
Well,
so I vet through all the ones that are beyond, that are going into a new place where there's new higher volume and,
yeah.
and new money, and they're out
I
there. There's
I,
stocks that are
I
out there.
don't.
Yeah.
We have a momentum list, and we put it out every week. And I don't mind that as much, Paul, like you. But if it gets outside that upper Bollinger Band, that's just not a place that I would buy it at. Watching it for 40 years.
Well,
Okay.
not necessarily. I'm not. There's just different ways of trading. I see. You
No,
trade
it's
within the swing. There's
yeah.
different ways. But to your point, like you don't have to buy. Like EXE is another one I'm looking at where it's not outside the trading line, but it's into a new high, and the volume's increasing. I'm just pointing out where Trent says, yeah, a lot of these stocks are hitting uh resistance. I agree entirely, but there's plenty of them. There's many of them that are not, and those are the ones I'm very interested in. That's the ones. That's
Well,
how I vet.
so to take
I
that
mean,
one step further,
this was one you
it
had, Paul, and I mean GEV, and it had a nice run, got above the Bollinger, and then hit resistance. You can
Yep.
see.
Yep.
So I mean, but
Oh,
here
there's
I don't like buying outside the Bollinger Band till it gets back in. I like the ones that kind of bounce between the 9 and the Bollinger Band, and those seem to work better for me. Like in here, where here you got a candle close above. This was a nice one up, also.
I'm very aware of the way you trade. I'm
Yeah.
just pointing out that I'm just uh um get, sorry, I'm getting
yeah.
lost for words, but I'm just pointing out what Trent says is, geez, you're seeing a lot of resistance on many of these stocks. And what I'm saying is, I see a lot of stocks that don't have the green light on death and don't have that resistance, or maybe may have the resistance. And I look for those particular stocks. There's a pool of those stocks out there. That's
I
all I'm
mean,
saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
I put out a list of 10 every Sunday, of these momentum stocks.
Yeah, I understand where you got them from. I understand it. I'm
Yeah,
just chatting to the rest of the group
yeah.
about
I
it.
mean,
That's
here's
all.
like
Yeah.
Cardinal Health. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still in that. Yeah, I'm
But
still in
here you
Cardinal
got some
Health.
sell orders right here too. So you got to respect what's there. But you see a lot of this. It comes up, sideways, moves up, sideways. We've seen this sideways, comes back within the Bollinger, so that's why I don't like to buy, and most professionals are not going to buy near or outside of Bollinger because it only trades 5% of the time out there. So it will come back in.
Well,
And,
this is a,
this would
this,
have been a nice area, when it came back to the 9, came back to the 9 as far as entries. Okay.
so let me just bring some other thoughts because I worried about this. Margaret says, she's in Berkshire, someone else is. I'm long
I don't,
term in Cardinal Health. I'm long term in Cardinal Health because I love a rising 259, and I love those oscillators. If it kicks back under the 9 and under the 20 or 50, I'm worried. I'll get out of my. So I'm long Cardinal based on its chart, but and I get. My point is that's how I distinguish. I have conviction in Cardinal Health. I know what they do, and then what I'll do is I'll stay in it because I know the fundamentals of it. But if it starts coming down, I'm out.
I got
And it helps me with a longer term investment, not a swinger necessarily, a longer term investment. That's what.
okay.
Yeah.
I would say Cardinal's probably going to come with inside the Bollinger, 5 times out. This is the daily chart. I was showing you the weekly before, but we got a little bit of a roll. But Cardinal on the daily chart kind of went sideways and popped up a little bit more during this week. But again, resistance you got some sell orders, and you're going up 5 times outside of the Bollinger. You're probably going to pull sideways within. I don't know what it's going to open at today. Might go up. I don't know. To hit sell orders. Could, might not. I don't know. So, yeah, I appreciate that. Everyone has their own style of trading. Okay, Paul's is Paul's is a little more aggressive because he follows momentum, and there's nothing wrong with momentum. Momentum can go up. The trend's your friend until it's not, and the momentum can go down. And short people short, they use downward momentum to short. Okay, and but what I try to teach is more of a conservative. Uh, what are the fundamentals that a lot of traders and algorithms use in a simple manner? So I stick with one system because I have a whole universe of people who are just starting and some who have been in for a long time. And then once you're in and you learn the basics, you go and you do your own thing like Paul did. Okay. Like Trent. Trent doesn't use the same moving averages as I do because he uses things that he's comfortable with. And that's what I want you to do. I just want you to have everybody have a plan, on how you trade, and don't shoot from the hip and don't chase. Know when you get in where you want to get out, and know on a swing trade. And if you're going to get in, know how much risk and reward you're going to take. As far as risk, how much pain will you take if it starts going down, and don't let it run down on you because before you know it, you're 10% down, 20% down, and it takes forever to get that back on a lot of stocks. So anyway.
Hey, Mark, did you look at HPE?
Hewlett Packard,
Is that it?
HPE.
Yeah, Robert's asking about it.
Looks pretty sideways. Went up, look at this, went up, hit I don't know how it was after earnings. It went up and then back down, but hit the 200. And ever since that, it's just sideways. Bollingers are sideways. You got oscillators, descending oscillators, just kind of that sideways pattern we've been seeing, What did we do on earnings? So negative 82 cents per share on earnings. And then yesterday had a distribution of 13 cents. So you always usually see a decline on distributions, but it's running right along this support level, right along the 20, but it really hasn't shown much life.
Take a look at there's two more on the chat. NNE.
Nano nuclear. Yes. Yeah, I mean that's trading between. It's above the 200. It's got good oscillators. You've got some sell orders. 37.22. We're going to move this and move it up just a little bit. See where it's at. Okay, so that popped up above. So you have resistance. You're outside the Bollinger a little bit, but you have some resistance. The green line of death at 40.45. We closed at 37.97. This is one of those where it's got these big candles, and look at this. I mean, these are what, if you're going to try to get in, for me, I try to get them on sale. and put in a buy order. I go back and look, where have we seen a support or resistance before? Maybe you put it in, and try to catch a buy if it wicks down like this here, or maybe you're even more daring and you want to put it down here, but see, it comes down on this 9 support. So if you're going to get in, from the way I would do it, I wouldn't get in up here. I would put in
Hey,
a buy limit down here at this level somewhere.
hey, Mark, this is an example of one to go back in time. So go back further, probably to a year at least,
There's
and you can
2.
see where this resistance level has been in the past. Um, it just pretty historically, it's had a hard time getting above where that green line of death is
Yeah,
in the past. So
let's go
something
back.
has to fuel it. If it's institutional ownership buying it, if it's an event of, you know, loosening the strings on nuclear development or something to make that stock go higher. So take that into account as well from a more of a longer term point of view.
Looks like the earnings, they were negative 57 cents in May. And then before that, they were negative 9 cents. So they actually went down and negative 9. So they were losing more money per share this last quarter than they were the previous 2 quarters. But other than that, I don't know anything uh,
Yeah.
about this company other than it says nuclear energy. So, and this has been the nice ride on nuclear, with talking about data centers. And then Trump came out and they signed a thing with the nuclear companies. And again, news driven in some areas. But you do have resistance up, but you have a little bit of room on the top, but a lot of excitement in this one, it looks like. What was another one, Trent? What'd you have?
PEP.
Pepsi. I like Pepsi. I just wish it would get off. Let me get a little closer here. It's had a rough run, and here we are. Back to this sideways pattern. It's almost like It's almost like UNH. And this has been on my list for a long time to watch it to see if it'll ever pop. And now, it was going sideways. This resistance line has come down. It's just run resistance and support, and these are so tight. Something's really got to happen for Pepsi to get this moving up the right direction. Look at these: the 50s down, the 200s moving down, the 9s moving down, the 20s moving down. This is one I'd wait for and see if we can get something to crank it back up. But let's go back 2 years and show you. Look at that! Wow. I mean, it was up to $182. And then, yeah, I mean, now
Mark,
it's,
this is a 4.2% dividend payer. Um,
$1.42. Yeah.
you know, um, so it may be more of a value play. If you think about like soft drinks, Coke and Pepsi, how much more market share can they gobble up, you know?
Look at Coke.
Um,
Coke had dividends and just dropped precipitously over like 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
yeah. I think these are more like if you're building a dividend driven portfolio, this is probably one of those to consider because people are going to continue to drink Coke and Pepsi to some level.
How much do you think the new, Make America Healthy process is affecting these companies? I just,
Not really.
I don't know because they're sugary drinks. I mean, I don't know what the products are.
I've driven 17 hours in the last 24 or last 48 hours, and every McDonald's has a full parking lot. I just don't see people quitting.
Well, but here we go. Look at the stock, McDonald's.
Yeah. But it's not when I say, hey, pick your best growth stock, you're not gonna put McDonald's on it,
No,
you
no, but
know.
I'm just saying,
Is
you look and you
yeah.
say the parking. Look at McDonald's here. Look at what we're seeing, and we saw this in Berkshire. Berkshire, it came down and it hit the 200. Very strong level of support. Couldn't hit it. This looks almost like Berkshire came down, hit the 200, couldn't get past it. Now all of a sudden we broke through. We broke through. Um, so I'm thinking, we see these things about the consumer. We see how much McDonald's has raised their prices. And how much is that affecting their normal customer? I don't know. I'm just looking at the stock chart. Something caused it to go through the 200 where it hasn't, two times before, over the course of.
I've been I've been to three Buc-ee's. If you guys don't know what Buc-ee's is, it is the Disney World of gas stations. Every one I've been in so far in the last 48 72 hours or so, completely full. Completely full. I mean, people walking around with baskets full of whatever they're selling. It is just crazy. So I think when it comes to low end consumer, the low end or price point consumer, they're still going to these companies. It's just the stock market's not reflecting it. Bucky's is not a publicly traded company, but it does give you the idea of who's shopping to the lowest price point. Um, so, I do, does inflation affect these guys? Eventually, yeah, of course. But it's still the cheapest place to eat to feed a family of four, you know.
Um, Here's Esther put Oscar on OSCR, healthcare. Nice big candle on Wednesday. I don't know what the news was or whatever happened.
Well,
Is this
oh,
somewhere?
again,
Is this somewhere where I'd want to buy it? I wouldn't. If anyone else wants to chime in and say, yeah, why you'd buy it at this level, other than momentum, that you're way outside of the Bollinger. Um, Again, it goes back to your risk reward. How much do you like your money, and how much are you willing to throw it on the table and see what card
Oh,
gets pulled up the next day?
Mark, I think when you say risk reward applying to this, I don't think that's a factor. You just look at the behavior of that. That is a big 1 day event. It's like, how do you duplicate that? And
Well, that
typically
is
his
risk reward, isn't it? I mean, you look at it and
right,
say,
but I mean
is it
this
going to
this
do it? What's the chance of
let's
that doing it
apply
again?
logic here.
Yeah.
Let's apply logic. If you look at enough charts and you see something like this, you can assume the next 2 days will be shorter candles, and that third day will most likely be a higher wick with a lower close, and that will be a turning point.
Look at these
Um,
volumes. Here's 8.6 million, 14 million, 25 million, 49 million. It doubled.
And
yeah.
so I would be inclined to look at the news, and it might be something that, is very interesting and what drove it up and the volume, and there's interest there. So I would certainly look at what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. But look at the previous days going back, probably 10 days. That's all accumulation. That's somebody knows something,
so if
you
you
know?
wanted to buy into this stock, where do you buy? Or do you wait for it to come back down first? Or
Yeah,
I don't
I
buy.
see
would
what it's
I
gonna.
don't buy. I don't buy outside of the upper Bollinger Band. I just don't.
okay.
look at the 200. That probably would be because you think about this, somebody knew something, they accumulate. And I would even say go back in history, go back way back and see what the behavior of this stock is and where are these breakouts. That's a major breakout. It happened back way to your left here back in what is that? 24, September of 24.
And when it broke out, it went higher and higher and higher every day after that.
Yeah, but then it also came back down. So here's where the FOMO starts to kick in,
Right.
and then they get you in here, they suck you in, you're like, oh, this is going to the moon, and then they just suck you right back down. So opportunity, in my opinion, is where do you see these clusterings in historically and then a breakout? What does that behavior look like? What's that volume look like? To Paul's point, what does that news look like? What's that buildup? Because somebody always knows something. And that's what I see in this yesterday, or what was that, Wednesday's point of view. Somebody knew something. It's not an accident. It's
Uh,
not
The
a,
pro- the problem I see with this stock
somebody
right
knows
now
something.
is
What's
that
that?
it's the problem, or the challenge with an entry point I see on this stock right now is if you were to draw a line at, let's see, right near earnings, and then you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a
Okay.
week's and a half. So there, to me, that's if he asked where would he enter, that's what the question was.
Okay. I
And what
would not enter it today because it's going to open up at $22.
Well, I mean, it
Okay,
opens
right,
up a
yeah.
lot of these stocks, they open up crazy and plummet right down. You know,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So if you want to be in a position, that's what I'm saying.
This
Yeah.
is a
I'm
perfect
just
one.
saying how I would.
This is a perfect rug pull
I know.
stock from the market makers right here.
This stock is tied to Trump and his family. I'm reading through the articles. I don't understand how, but he's got something to do with this thing. And that's so it's acting like a meme stock.
So if it's opening up at 22, you're right up here where we had sell orders before, and just go back in history.
Yeah.
And that's going to be another huge candle. So, I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm not here to tell you what to do. If your style is chasing large candles, then this is your opportunity. You know, and then you got to think, how long can these candles go? And you know, here's one. This was one run here, but where'd it go? Right up to where they sold. You know, and then look what happened. Okay,
Think about
so
also take into account the gap up. We've
yeah,
always talked about gaps being filled. Today's could be another prime example, potentially, of that.
well, that's be
Now,
huge.
I have that disclaimer. I could be completely wrong. This could be the next NVIDIA, but
I would buy it at
that's
1850, but I wouldn't buy it. To answer his
yeah.
question, he asked a question. 1850. That's where I would consider it.
Where is
Well,
that?
Okay, and I don't want to necessarily buy this either. I'm just looking at, the candle being that high, thinking that when I've not wanted to buy first thing in the morning, looking at ones I liked, all of a sudden, hoping it goes down. It never goes down. It goes down, up. That's the one that goes 8% throughout the day.
Yep.
But I also, the one time I do get, jump into it, just like you guys said a second ago, as soon as the stock market opens, it plummets right back down.
Well, that's what we're
That,
doing here. We're trading. Yeah, it's good
that's
ones
the
and bad
first
ones.
and
Yeah.
for
that's what I say. I always try to, if I'm interested in something, I'm gonna try to get it on sale. And if I miss it, I don't feel bad. Okay. Like, and then a lot of people, that the emotion kicks in, they chase it up, and then it gets up to about noon, and you get in at the high, and then it dumps during the afternoon because the market makers pull the rug on you, and they
I-
take your money, and you're stuck with a high price stock.
How key is that what you just said, Mark? Emotions kick in.
A
Don't let
lot.
the emotions kick in. It means
That
so
is
much.
key.
Yeah, it's key because I think the biggest takeaway is, I mean, I lost a considerable amount of money last week, but I made more. And I don't let my emotions um, play into, well, geez, I lost 10% on this stock, because there's other ones that I did very well, and it's just the business. So try to pull your, if I find that if I get emotionally involved with a particular stocks, usually because it's too high volatility, and I'm not in it. If I start getting emotion, I just leave the stock, go find something where I could just stick to my trading plan.
And see, that's my trading plan. When you guys ask me questions about these things, I go right to my trading plan. My trading plan is what I follow, and like that keeps my emotion out. So yeah, it may go up. This Oscar may go up $500, and I missed it. But you know what? I got to stay true to something, and what I stay true to is my trading plan, because the majority of the time it works for me. 85% of the time it'll work for me. So it works for me. I don't chase. I like my money. I've chased before when I was learning all this stuff, and I've lost money doing it. And I don't want to do that anymore. So I don't. But that's and when I talk about risk reward, that's my risk tolerance. I don't have any. I don't have a huge risk tolerance at this moment, especially when the markets are. I just don't.
Find what works for you.
Exactly. Yep. Oh, okay. Esther's got Oscar on there. Experts have been betting on the growth prospect of Oscar as the stock surged by 16% Wednesday. What happened, according to an ex post shared by Ruth Capital, Oscar's health fundamentals are strong as it reported robust revenue first quarter with $1 billion free cash flow. Additionally, the post highlights the company's ties with President Donald Trump. Okay. Thanks, Esther, for putting that on there.
Can you,
Here's politics again. Trump drives it up. Where Enphase, we just looked, Enphase cratering because Trump administration doesn't stand behind it. So you could see, right?
Yeah, I mean
Mm.
those things tie into it, you know, and news ties into everything. So, and same with oil stocks. Oil stocks will be great until the war is over, or, you know, if the Strait of Hormuz is closed down over the weekend, you'll see oil stocks open up higher, way higher, you
Yeah,
know?
so
Yeah.
the news, to your point, is a big tell on many
Absolutely,
different. Yeah,
absolutely.
so I know you go through the news. I appreciate it because it gives information on what sectors are good and bad, or will make you money and will not. So
Yeah, you know, it's been a lot more challenging because of the quickness of the news cycle. Under the last administration, uh, the quickness wasn't there. You know, we didn't have as many. Trump's out there every day talking. Biden was not. Okay, I'm going to put this one up because Paul brought this up. This is more of an example of something I like because it goes between support and resistance. Now you can see they're getting closer together, but you know, here it went outside the Bollinger Band 5 times, pulled in and stayed within it. And so when you look at something like this, I try to buy closer to support. And if you want to get out, you get out closer to resistance. You know, I don't buy at resistance. Had you bought in here, you had to wait, you know, several days to get up. Had you bought down here, you would have been up almost immediately, you know. So again, that's kind of how I look at it. Uh, but that's worked for me. But yeah, we got a nice run on Hood here.
So that's actually one of the stocks that I trade regularly is
Hood.
Hood and the one that you guys talked about earlier, Credo. Credo has helped me out a lot. It goes up dramatically, and it's also come down dramatically, and I've been lucky to get out at the right time.
Well, don't say lucky. I hope you have a plan that gets you out at the right time.
I have a plan.
Look at what's happening here, though. You're right up where we had before. These are normally strong lines to get back over, you know, highs like that. We'll see.
Is it a little bit above the line, and does that matter?
Well, you know, it wicked above it,
Okay.
but you need to get a close above that and then sustain close. See, it didn't quite close above it. Okay. It wicked just like this one wicked above it. But if you can get above this, kind of bounce off and then keep rolling, yeah, okay. But it could go all the way up to where you have sell orders. I've seen that happen too. That's at 97. This is a wide range. So that's telling me these people in the market are, you know, with these sell orders up here, think that this can still run. That's my opinion of what it says to me. My thought is it could probably go up, but it's had a nice big run already. Would have been nice to come down and buy it here at support, you know, because it's basically been going from support to resistance, and then it just took off the last 3 days, you know. Interesting. Yeah, I can see how you made money on that. Definitely.
Hood has been up 8 of the last 10 weeks. Good investment. Investment.
So
I saw where
hold it for a year.
I saw where X is going to come out with a trading platform. I put that on the news.
I saw
So
that.
Twitter, yeah. So that'll be
Oh
interesting.
boy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? You got all this
So we got a few more minutes. We haven't
crossing
talked to
guards.
Patrick. I can't go into my weekend without Patrick giving, and he's got his window open, so I expect birds to be chirping. So here we go. Patrick, what you got?
I'd like you to look at Intuitive Machines Incorporated. That's LUNR.
Lunar. Okay.
Oh, lunar.
They're into space technology.
I thought you said Intuit.
Okay, let's get a little closer here. Well, under the 200, under the 9, riding down the Bollinger Band. It's coming up on support at the 50 if it can hold. Oscillators are down.
This stock has huge growth potential over the next 3 years.
So you're talking about more of an investment type situation.
Yeah.
Let me go to a weekly chart and just see what it looks like. Oops. Oh my gosh, look at that. Wow, that really ruins my chart.
What's
Okay.
that?
This
Yeah.
wick. Look at that. Oh my God. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we're even underneath the 50 as far as an investment right now. I'd wait till that popped above that a little bit. But anyway, go ahead. Why do you like it?
Well, I just found it the other day as a potential growth stock. My calculation is that its 3-year projected ROI is 250%.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do they do?
It's space technology. They build spacecrafts.
Well, it looks like no one's liking it quite yet. I mean, we
No.
got both converging or diverging Bollingers and underneath. But,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
other one
put this on your list. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other one is core weave. I know it's a flavor of the month at the moment. It seemed to be riding very high.
Yeah, until it hit this resistance for 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's done that before. It did it back here, and resistance moved. This has had just a lot of upward growth, and you got to wonder how long can this go on? And that's what you got, because at some point the price has got to match what the earnings are and what projections are. And I don't know anything about this company. You guys know more about it than me. But at some point, you know, we'll see. I'm seeing the MACD kind of rolling a little bit. That's because we had 3 days along resistance. It's been a nice run. You know, is this where I'd buy it on my trading plan? My trading plan would say no.
No,
But that's
of course.
mine. Okay.
Sure. And lastly, what do you consider the 4 scenarios of the next 2 to 4 weeks with regard to the Gulf? I've come up with 4. The first one is doing nothing, quick resolution. 2 is medium term, small dip, 5 to 15%. Hormuz, no recession with recession. They're the 4 scenarios that I've come up with. What can you think of any others?
Well, I don't know. You know, it's hard for me to speculate, Patrick. You know, I tell Trent and everyone around me, I used to worry about stuff like this, and then I realized, I mean, to the point of it almost made me depressed. And now I can't do anything about it. There's nothing I can do, so I don't worry about it. I don't try to focus on it other than with you guys and how it affects the market, because it just ruins my day. So I kind of don't even care, Patrick, you know?
I'm with
Sure.
you.
Yeah, Margaret, you know the same, because you can get into it and it's
a mind game.
I watch people argue about shit they can't do anything about, you know, and then they become enemies. I'm like, guys, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you have opinions, which everybody does, and I like opinions. That's what makes the world interesting.
No, but it's from the point of view of we're all powerless in this situation. But just wondering, what do you think the most probable scenario will take place?
Nothing will happen.
Mhm.
They'll quit shooting at each other, and we'll go back to
They run out
tariffs.
of they run out of ballistic missiles.
Yeah.
I always love the way you British say missiles. So that's why I like the Hunt for Red October, because you know what's his name, the captain, he's Scottish, and he always said, "Oh, a missile destroyer."
All right, we got to wrap it up here.
Well, it's been a good
We
week,
will.
guys. I really I appreciate everyone showing up. I love the discussions. I love your stocks. It's not up to me to tell you what to do or not. I have a set of trading plans are sitting out on the Discord you can look at. You guys have all, you know, those of you who've been with us for a long time, you've kind of taken control, and you've made your own plans, and you're doing well, and that's what I want. What works for you? What works for me is different than what works for Trent, or what works for Kerry, or what works for Patrick or Paul. And you know, this is the forum that we can ask questions. We can all be friends. We can all have opinions, and then go on and have a nice weekend. And hopefully no tactical nuclear weapons go off, Patrick, and we're back on Monday.
Good to
Right.
hear that.
Yep.
Hey, could I ask one last question? And it's
Certainly can.
just that you guys mentioned that, you know, the option regarding the options market, things were coming to a close today, and how that was going to affect Friday. I don't know if you talked about it today, but I must have missed it. Did you
Go
say
ahead,
anything
Trey.
about?
Yeah, so we did hit upon it, but basically today is um, option expiration, triple witching day. Um, and there's 4.3 trillion in nominal open interest expiration that'll happen just on SPX and SPY. So that's the S&P 500. It doesn't include these other stocks that are out there. So it's a very big day. And what this does is once these options expire tonight after 3 o'clock Central Time, then it all of a sudden these market makers readjust their hedging. So they use it's called delta hedging. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pin their book of business to a certain level so they don't get a lot of volatility, so they don't get their faces ripped off. And so that suppresses volatility. This big option expiration, we go into Monday. Now it all recalibrates. Now these market makers re-hedge their positions, and this basically takes the leash off of the volatility suppression we have seen with the S&P 500 in particular. And what could that do? It could make more. It can give more volatility or room for these stocks to run higher, or if a tactical nuclear missile hits on Sunday, lower, and that could increase volatility. But what we're seeing in the VIX today is we're still now approaching that 19 level, and below 19 is that investable bucket. So not trying to predict the future here, but probability says all of this expiration will sort of free things up going into next week, which could produce a positive, more bullish environment, and could be a good week as as long as as long as a headline doesn't dictate where it's going. And I think this also relates to these green line of death and these resistance levels. I'm really curious to see if we see those resistance levels and those green lines of death levels move upward and readjust. And if so, that sort of supports my theory of taking the leash off and allowing these stocks to move higher potentially. So I think we've been in this sideways movement for a while, and you relate that to the options market. The option market has been just building this suppression, this channel, keeping volatility very low. This could be a catalyst to push things higher.
Thank you so much.
Except, yeah, does that help?
It helps a lot. It helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very ignored market, and yet it is one of the biggest controllers of where a stock is going to go. Um, and it's a bit of a future teller in a sense.
Thank you guys.
Oh,
Appreciate you
yeah.
guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
You too. Y'all take care.
Bye-bye.
Right. See you. Bye.
All right.
Yes.
See ya.